Wayfair has just what you need for your home.
Is that glitter? Is when it's last leg.
welcome to the DPPG Sports Show. In this corner, coming from Central New Hampshire, Dan Curran. In this corner over here, originating from New Jersey, Mr. Michael Foley. And standing in the middle of it all, coming from Long Island, New York, the DP and DPPG, Devin.
Golf clap.
Golf clap. All right, well, no turning back now, huh?
It's on.
No, yeah, it is. Nothing we can do about it now.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome live here to our first ever DPPG Sports Show, live here from the Elite Sports Academy here in Epsom, New Hampshire. My name's Devin Poslesny right here in the middle. Got Mr. Dan Kernan sitting to my left, your right, and Coach Foley on my right, your left. Right? To the people watching at home.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You were looking around like, I don't know.
I think they can figure that one out.
Okay, just making sure.
Plus, it says our names at the bottom.
I guess that's true. That is true. So, once again, welcome. This is going to be a lot of fun. And we want to say thank you in advance to Elite Sports Academy for letting us come and take over a corner of their facility here today. I'm just going to throw my phone. Sorry for the little delayed start. We were trying to get Facebook Live to work, and we finally got it to work, but took a little second.
You did.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I did.
Let's be fair.
I was gonna say I did. I guess.
Yeah, take shots when we can get them.
Exactly.
Yeah, Facebook Live failed me. All right.
Did not.
Failed me. Anyways, so on today's docket, we're going to talk about field hockey. We're going to recap field hockey. I know that championship happened almost 2 weeks ago, but right, or a week ago.
A week ago.
Yeah. Feels like 2 weeks, but
time change and all.
Yeah, exactly. We fell
happens.
back. It throws me off. Threw me off, you know.
Like a week.
Like a week. So we're going to talk about the field hockey championship game. We're going to recap D2 and 3 volleyball. Talk about girls soccer for Division III, and talk about Guilford upsetting St. Thomas. And we have a special guest here to talk about that game with us. And then after the commercial break, we'll come back. We'll talk about D2 and 3 football, which are still playing, and preview today's boys' championship soccer game in Manchester.
There's a championship game tonight in Manchester?
Just because
I think a couple of them, but
Is there?
I don't know.
I was gonna say
We didn't get the invite.
I was gonna say these two aren't in it, so they wouldn't.
Almost had the invite, but
Hey, you made
I shouldn't say almost. It was
Guilford just doing Guilford things.
Guilford's
Hey,
Guilford.
you made the tournament roster or the tournament program, so that's something.
That's
16,
something.
yeah, 16 teams make that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're totally discrediting it.
I'm going to take a semifinal invite.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
We're talking to a semifinalist over there.
Yeah, guy.
Oh, whatever. Anyways, so whatever. Don't forget, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube Live, feel free to shoot us a message on our social media or comment on the video. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you have access to our website or whatever, feel free to jump on there as well and send us a message. Like I said, love to hear from you.
Like and subscribe, right? Is that what the kids say?
Is that what the kids say?
Tag us. Just tag us.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Eventually, we'll have our Twitter handles underneath our intro there. Man, could you imagine?
Oh, I've got a lot of Twitter handles, so this would be good.
I was going to say, I came across one of yours, and it was like, I don't know, half-price Cuban cigars. And I'm like, this is not Coach Foley.
That is not me.
That is clearly maybe
he
you
likes to pay full price for his.
Exactly.
So let's jump right in here to field hockey. And with that being said, we're getting fancy. I got a nice little recap here. Made a quick little 30-second recap. Wasn't much to talk about because it was a 2-0 game Guilford. But here you go in recapping the field hockey championship for Division III. Number 7 Bishop Brady versus number 1 Guilford, video courtesy of the NHIAA and the NFHS network. The first and third quarter were scoreless. In the second quarter, with roughly 9:22 to go, Ali Perchette finds Olivia Keenan to score the first goal of the game for the Golden Eagles. Then with 8.5 minutes to go in the fourth
quarter, it is Keenan and Perchette again to get on the board, except this time it was Perchette from Keenan to score the second goal. The Guilford Golden Eagles win 2-0.
Well, and congratulations to Guilford on their winning championship, winning the championship. And again, video courtesy of the NHIAA and the NFHS network. We thank them for allowing us to grab clips from their broadcast. They did a good job.
Yeah,
they did a good job. Not going to lie, as much as I might have been critical of them in the beginning, I'm starting to become a fan of them. Well, also now I have the media hook up with them.
Helps,
so
but you guys are a community, and you guys do share a lot of stuff. So it's you got to be respectful.
You can't burn the bridge. You got to be able to cross that at some point down the road.
Never.
So.
But from a field hockey standpoint here, right? You have a number 7 Bishop Brady who upset the number 2 seed Newfound early in the playoffs. So the fact that they made it to the final is huge, for them. And
that's a good season for them, regardless.
It's a great season
of outcome.
Yeah. And Guilford was, I believe, they ran the table this year. They had an undefeated season.
Yeah, they went 17-0, I believe. Yeah.
So for them, it was expected, if you will, and so it's a great result for them. Both, a goal in the first half, a goal in the second half allows them to walk away with the hardware.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it was definitely a good game for them. Like I said, the only Allie Perchette and Olivia Keenan split them. Yep. One got the goal, the other one got the goal, and they also assisted each other.
Nice.
So talk about helping each other out there, right? So.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, that's teamwork.
I was gonna say, any thoughts over on your side of the bench?
I mean, we're talking playoffs today, and Guilford is included in a lot of them.
All of them.
It's been a really good year, fall season for Guilford so far. So it's just that's the first one of the fall that we've discussed, and there'll be some more coming up. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I think every time we say Guilford today, put $1 in the jar, and my
$1.
Hold on,
yeah,
and my
quarter, really.
Oh, I was going to say $1, and my student loans will be paid off by the end of the show.
They would.
That's what I'm saying. Every time we mention Guilford,
it's a beauty. It's their world, and we're just fortunate enough to be living in it.
I'm so glad they're in our network.
We compete against.
If you want to call what we're doing competing on this side of the table.
A couple days ago, but
so that was the Field Hockey Championship. We did get a chance to sit down with the team. Here's a little clip of it. We'll be able to talk over this, but full team interview coming up tomorrow. We're releasing, I think, at 10 a.m. So make sure to tune into that one. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And I also got on camera, which was terrifying. Yeah, I know. Crazy.
Uncle Devin.
No, stop.
Substitute teacher Devin right there.
I was going to say, come on, get the right terminology there.
Sorry.
Uncle Devin. That's creepy. Just
talking to... But that was probably a really cool experience for the kids.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to sit as a group and discuss and chit-chat about...
Yeah.
And it's not something that's a unique. That's never happened.
Right.
And I mean, as long as you and I have been coaching, we've never had that opportunity where you might send 1 or 2 kids to the newspaper reporter to talk a little bit, but you're not.
Or like have New Hampshire Sports Page meet with you on the field after the game.
Right.
Yeah,
but
like
I mean, even that, that's got to be, you got to be a Guilford school because Dave Haley is a big Guilford alum.
Another $1 in a jar.
And then it's basically D1 and D2. So to get the notoriety that those girls got after, the season that they did, 17-0 that's a task to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, they deserve all the recognition that.
But
the
other thing there is it's a few days later.
Yeah.
And you've allowed the game to sit in, and you can then go back and go, you know what, this is why it was special. This was, halfway through the season, you have those moments. You're able now to really kind of capture what was going through your head. As a player, and I don't know if you had the coach there or not.
He didn't. He coach Dave. I can never pronounce his last name. I think it's Bernacki.
Sounds good to me.
Bergacki.
Thank you. I was gonna say I knew one of you knew, but I asked him, and he was like, "No, it's for the kids."
Good.
And I was like, "Well, we'd love to interview you." He's like, "No, it's for the kids." So
awesome. Well, and as a coach, I mean, we get talked to all the time. whether it's you or
Get
other.
talked to or talked at.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just we're always on somebody's conversation side where the kids don't get the notoriety or the recognition that they deserve at times. So that was a good experience.
Yeah, no, and it was a lot of fun, and it was the first time we had done something like that before, and something I have done. Like, I've interviewed a coach before a game, or something like that, like you guys were just saying, but I've never actually.
You've interviewed coaches before a game?
That's awkward.
Neither one of us.
No, I was gonna say neither.
Didn't do it at the semifinals.
Oh, well, we did it. We tried it in the basketball. You were part of that basketball. Wait a minute. You were the other co-host in that basketball game that I said, "Hey, throw it up to you."
Let's go interview.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But no, it was a lot of fun, and it was funny because you'll see in the interview, the girls sit down, and I'm like, "So, hey, thanks for taking time with me," and they were just like, "Mm-hmm." I'm like, all right, we'll break through the awkwardness. And I literally said that, and they just, like, laughed. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Like, but then toward the end, it's only, like, 25 minutes long. But towards the end of the interview, they were, like, they were having fun, and they were passing the microphone around. And it was
again,
fun.
the beauty of it is they've got it. They've got a video of them talking about their season. And, 10, 20, 25 years from now, they're going to go back and replay that, and they're going to have a blast with it.
Right. Exactly.
Oh yeah, it just is the sugar coating on top of a really good year.
Yeah.
That like our glory stories changed. That 1-0 game was a beautiful upper 90 goal that wasn't actually what it was. It just hit the goalie's hands and rolled in. Like there's no footage of that. You know what I mean? Like the story will change, and now they have this that they can show later on down the road.
Right. No, it's a lot of fun. That's cool. Like I said, that will be available on our YouTube channel, social media pages, and our website on this same tab that you guys are watching this game on, the Sports Show tab. It'll be available to watch starting tomorrow morning.
Cool.
So a lot of fun. So let's recap volleyball here real quick. For Division II, yesterday you had number 2 Co-Brown versus number 1 Oyster River at Pinkerton Academy. Oyster River wound up winning 3-2, and looking at the set numbers here, first one was 25-15 Oyster River, 25-23 Co-Brown, 25-17 Co-Brown, 25-21 Oyster River, and then 15-9. The Bobcats finished with an 18-1 record, and talk about avenging the loss. The solo loss came to Co-Brown during the season.
Early in the season.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to kind of review the video, but from what I heard, it was a really good game, and 3-2, and those scores are close.
The scores dictate that it was a great match.
It was a close one.
Well, and it was like we discussed a couple weeks ago when we were talking D2 playoffs. We were talking about how it was going to be Co-Brown and Oyster River. They're probably going to get there. They're 2 top seeds, so obviously that's the easy 2 teams to pick, but they were similar records. They beat each other. The scores basically tell you how it went.
Right.
And it pushed back the D3 game. The D3 game was supposed to start at 12 o'clock, and because it went to 5 sets and because the scores were so close, it pushed back a little bit. So it just lets you know that was a pretty good final. That's exactly what you want a championship game to be.
Right, exactly. No, it was funny because I was sitting at the Meadows, Guilford Meadows, getting ready for the football game, and I pulled up the D3 game, and it was like, this broadcast is delayed. And I was like, what's going on? Like, what?
Good volleyball is what's going on.
Yeah, I was constantly updating or checking Twitter to see if I could get, Josh Spalding, anything from Josh to figure out, like, what was going on. And,
why haven't heard anything?
12:30, 12:40, and it's just like, oh, okay, D1's just finishing up. Right. So, those are good games, drag out a little bit, and that's how they should be. I
was gonna say it was definitely a good D2 game, and congrats to the Bobcats for winning the championship. Yep. We talked about a couple weeks ago where it was Campbell, Co-Brown, and Oyster River were gonna, like you mentioned, were gonna most likely be your top dogs at the end, and sure enough, we got that right.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the very few.
Yes. Nothing really went to plan.
No.
The other from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So for D3 volleyball, we just mentioned that the D2 game was before it. It kind of delayed the start of it, but nevertheless, really a good game between number 4 Interlakes and number 2 Somersworth at Pinkerton Academy as well. Somersworth won 3-1, and this game I did watch a little bit of. It was on my phone when I was supposed to be announcing football, And yeah, being honest.
Quick plug.
Yeah, but I was gonna say it didn't distract me. Other things were distracting me. Super windy at the Meadows yesterday, but anyways, so the first 2 sets won by Somersworth, 25-17, 25-11, and at that point I remember tuning in. I think in the middle of the first set, and my first thought was, well, there you go. It's going to be one
quick match.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those matches. But then the third one, Interlakes beat them 25-21, and even the fourth set was 25-19.
Yeah,
and it was those were Interlakes was starting to kind of come into their stride from what I saw. Like a little bit of a slow start in the first 2 sets, but then they picked up and went for it.
Yeah, and I talked to Randy a little bit. Unfortunately, couldn't go down. I had some other stuff going on yesterday, so I couldn't go down and support. She was a huge, huge fan of ours this past spring, constantly emailing back and forth as we went through our baseball playoffs, and I wanted to return that to her. And Randy's been there for, I think she just said she finished her 30th season. And when you play the number 1 seed in the Final Four, and you beat the number 1 seed in the semifinals to make it to the finals, it's almost a little bit like your championship game.
Right.
And you either push through that and make the finals competitive and win, or you almost come complacent a little bit. And from the sounds of it, it sounds like that is a little bit of what happened. They just were not necessarily content, but they were okay with getting there, and that's a hard thing to overcome when you beat the 1 seed.
Right.
And that's, I mean, they've been to the Final Four 6 or 7 times in the last 8 years. So that program is doing very well. But Somersworth's a good team. You can see Interlakes won the 3rd set and then battled in the 4th one. If it had gotten to a 5th set, it would have been really interesting to see.
That tide might have well turned.
Exactly. And you hate to use the Yogi Berra line, but it could have very well got late early when you're down 2 sets to 0 and you're playing in that 3rd one. And it was close. It was 25-21. I mean, that there could have shifted to either direction. You just, as a coach and as a fan, you're just glad it wasn't a 3-0 shutout.
Right. Exactly. Right. No, and the Hilltoppers finished the season with an 18-1 record. Their solo loss coming to Messinic, who I think was number 1.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, Messinic
in Division 3, and they lost to them only 3-2. So we saw Somersworth at Somersworth playing Prospect Mountain, I think, in the first round, and they stepped into playoffs, championship ready. Like you saw it, like
they were a machine.
Yeah, like
they
stepped in and it was go time. Yep. Like there was no question about it, and great job to them, and great job by the coach, and congratulations to them.
Yeah, and then just a final, you tip your cap to an Interlakes team who made the run. Right, they got there, and again, as a coach, and I assume as a player, you want to be in the moment. You want to be able to have that opportunity, and they were there.
Yeah,
they had the opportunity, and it was a competitive championship game.
Yeah, and they were the 4 seed, and then like we talked about, I mean, I don't know how many losses Messinic had, 1 or 2, maybe, if even that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, to knock off the 1 seed in the Final Four, 3-1, I believe it was. I mean, that's an impressive feat all in itself. So they had a really good year. You don't let. I mean, obviously this hurts, and it was yesterday, so I'm sure some of them are still, feeling it and all of that. But that doesn't damper what any of these teams have done, win or lose. I mean, they still had really good years, and it takes a lot to get to a final, and you should be proud of winning or losing when you get there.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I ran up to Interlakes at one point to drop off some shirts. We had some merch, and they were having their second to last practice on Thursday, and they were just content. Like they were like, let's go. Like it wasn't anything where they were like nervous, or like you guys know that there's always that potential for a team to kind of be like messing up and making the shots that they or missing the shots that they can't because they're nerves or whatever. And they were just like, they seemed very content.
Good.
And it seemed like they were just like, hey, we made it.
Right.
Woo, we made it.
They have a lot of girls that have been through the whole experience so far. I mean, they went to the seniors. The seniors who are leaving the program now won the championship as freshmen. They were in again the second year. Our COVID, unfortunately, put a damper on some of that because that was a really good program that unfortunately, not to take away from what Newfound did, obviously, because they had a really good run for 2 or 3 years now, but I mean, that Interlakes team has been really good for a handful of years now, and Randy's done a really good job with them. So it's not it's not necessarily surprising that you would go to their practice and it almost has like that laid back feel because they're
like another day in the office.
They're a relaxed group that handles pressure extremely well, and it you feel for them because obviously you want your school to win, but they had a really good year. They had a really good year.
Cool. Well, any final thoughts on field hockey, volleyball, anything before we move on here?
No. Congratulations to the teams that won.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, time to talk girls soccer, and we'll start off the segment with a quick recap brought to you by the NHIA and the NFHS Network.
Number 2, Guilford versus number 1, St. Thomas, video courtesy of the NHIAA and the NFHS Network. 2 minutes ago in the first, Madeline Karsanovich blasts one from about 20 yards out to get the Saints on the board. With 32 minutes left in the second, Vanessa Flanders with the free kick roughly 25 yards out finds Ali Kenyon in the middle of the 18 with the header to tie the game. A minute later, another free kick from Flanders intended for Kenyon comes through the box and finds Kendall Heyman for the one-time flick and into the goal. Then, with less than 10 minutes to go, Elizabeth Albert is able to chip one past the goalie and go to the opposite post for the game-winning goal. Guilford upsets undefeated St. Thomas Aquinas with the 3-1 victory for the state title.
Well, there you go. Highlights from the girls' Division III soccer championship game. Sorry, we took the time to kind of readjust some things. But now we are welcomed here by one of the defenders for the Golden Eagles, Miss Gracie LeBlanc.
State champion.
State champion.
Guilford. Put some respect on the name right there,
my bad. Anyways, jeez Louise. Anyways, Gracie, how are you, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm doing pretty good today. It was a fun win over St. Thomas, and it was a good one. They beat us 7-3 as our first game, and we came a long way as over the season, and they did too. But we know what we had to do, and we came out and pulled out the win.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, congratulations. And, obviously you were going into that game, and you got your only loss all season came to St. Thomas. So St. Thomas could have been looking past you guys. You guys obviously, looking for revenge in a sense. When they got their first goal, was there did you sense anything on the field where it was kind of like, that's it? Or was it kind of like you guys got fired up? What was it?
I think that them scoring that goal, that just brought us, the urge to just keep driving. We knew that we still had time left in the game. It was first half, and we knew we had a whole second half to go. And as a whole team, during halftime, we came together, and we were like, we can still do this. It's one goal. It was a fluke goal, whatever. It was a good goal, but we knew we could have stopped it. But
it was a pretty goal.
I was going to say 20-yard hit. I don't think that's necessarily a fluke, but
that's
I get it.
Spoken like a true defender right there.
Exactly.
That's exactly it. And as a coach, you want your team to be like, oh, that one wasn't that great. And then you want to use that as fuel to push you the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Right. So then obviously, Allie gets the header.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you're known for the headers on the team, which was kind of, But anyways, at that point you tie it. Did the whole momentum and everything switch to, for you guys, or was it we still got work to do?
Well, we just came out of the second half. We just dominated. We knew what we had to do. We opened up the field. We played less. We played more attacking. And then once Allie scored that goal, we were like, we got this. We have the momentum, we have the energy. One more, and we can put it away. And we put 2 away, and by then we just knew we had to play defensive. They couldn't get another goal, and it would go home to us.
I was going to say, so that third goal came. Sorry, I'll open up the floor to you guys in a second. I know
It's okay.
Thanks. I know that third goal came in, with about 10 minutes to go. At that point, was it like, this is it? This is ours, or were you still?
We knew it was ours. We just had to stay defensive. We couldn't let anything happen, but we just kind of closed down the middle. Number 18, she's an amazing player, but if we stayed in our player, if we pushed them to the outside, we knew that we can hold on to it.
Nice.
So
Nice.
go ahead.
The thing I was going to mention is that the the respect side of this is those first 2 goals came off set pieces. And that's, from a coaching standpoint, it's huge. It wasn't the flow of the game. You guys, you knew both came from the right-hand side of the pitch. Ball served into the area, and the first one was a beautiful ball crossed in, and it was a gorgeous header to get you on the board. And then the second goal, we chatted obviously about prior to the show, the fact that the ball it wasn't a well struck ball across, but it bounced 6 times through the 18, and you very graciously let it go by you. And then I don't know who the girl was who scored the goal, but the respect that everything, like we say as coaches, if the ball makes it all the way through the 18, I've got issues.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of issues. But as you said, she called all of you guys off, was in the right place, right spot, and was able to finish.
Yeah. It was a beautiful goal, but that was by Kendall Heyman.
Kendall, okay.
Yeah.
Now, that just because obviously that game was played in Laconia, that's a short bus ride for you guys. I'm sure that place was packed. I watched the second half of the Final Four game you guys played against Stevens, and the place was electric. Yeah. And I can only imagine what it was like at that championship game. Could you feel the crowd at any point as it was getting later and later and later, just being like, okay, this is almost like a home game for you guys?
Yeah, like when we first showed up, we just took a look around. It was like, wow, this is our time. Like there were so many people from Guilford, from Gilmanton, just coming to support us, and it felt amazing. Like you could hear them cheering, and as the game went on, as we scored those goals, just the energy just went up.
Nice.
Like when St. Thomas scored their first goal, the whole stadium was quiet. But as we came back in the game, as we scored those 3 goals, it was this is us. We have this, and that energy from the fans made us drive even harder and made us want to work and made us want to get the win.
Nice.
It was also kind of fun, not going to lie, being at the game to watch you guys score and get the second goal, and then the St. Thomas end of the stadium get quiet.
Yeah.
like don't get me wrong, love St. Thomas. They put up a really good fight, but it was it's entertaining to say the least.
But it was Guilford's time. If you look back at that for you guys, that first game of the season, everyone's coming in from preseason going, okay, how are we going to play this year? What's it going to look like? You walk onto the pitch that first game and you got beat.
Yeah.
Right? 7-3
Yep.
was the final, and that's a thumping.
Yeah.
And you guys took that as, well, we're just going to, all right, it's behind us. Let's move on to the next game. And you guys built and built and built. And the more you guys put wins together, obviously the more confident you guys got as a team. And, watching you guys play, at Belmont, when we watched that game, and it was a great game.
Yeah.
They were competitive games.
Yeah.
But you could see how you guys were trying to work, what you were attempting to do, throughout a game.
Yeah.
So
Our big thing is we scored, although we lost our first game, we scored 3 goals on them, and no other team has scored 3 goals on them. That was, even though we lost, that was just a big thing. We knew going into the championship game, we knew we scored the most goals that any other team has scored.
Right.
And so we knew that we could go out there and we could do the same exact thing and putting goals away and just kind of close them down slowly.
right. But that's, I guess, the thing I was going to say is that I think Guilford as a team, you guys were able to figure out your defense.
Yeah.
And your defense really kind of became the stalwart of really what your team was about. You guys just didn't give up a whole lot of goals after, that first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only, 10 all year and 7 in the first game?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's something to hang your hat on. Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's very, very good.
Now, if I was a coach, I'd be like, look, we only gave up 3 goals all year.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
realistically, you
at that point, you almost kind of consider the first game of the year, good or bad, is almost like a scrimmage, basically, because it doesn't mean anything 2 months later.
Yeah. Right.
So if you can just be like, all right, whatever, they hung a 7th spot on us, but for the next 15 games, we were head and shoulders better than everybody else, then you don't really think about that until you play St. Thomas probably the second time there.
Yeah, definitely.
When you're just like, all right, this is you know who's really good, and each team has changed throughout the year, but you're still in pretty good shape when you go to that. Plus, it doesn't hurt playing basically in the backyard. Make St. Thomas drive a little bit further.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Now, these guys don't know I'm going to bring this up, but we talked about this pre-show and before they showed up. Tell me what was going through your mind, and I assume your dad's probably watching this, so he's going to laugh his butt off. What was going through your mind when all of a sudden your nose started to bleed?
So in our semifinal game,
in the semis, I should say. God.
I had a header goal, and then after that, they set up at half field, and they kicked a long ball, and I was going to go up and head it, and the girl in front of me, it hit her head, and then it hit my nose. And I had no tissues. It was unexpected, and I played for the last 5 to 8 minutes just bleeding out of my nose. The ref didn't see I was playing with my nose up, and then at halftime I went over to the bathroom and shoving toilet paper up my nose, and then I took care of it. Like I went careful with my nose, and then the championship game, I got hit again, and the other nostril started bleeding.
Sorry,
And
I don't mean to be laughing.
No.
And so I came prepared. I had toilet paper with me, and I stuffed toilet paper up my nose in the middle of the game, and I did what I had to do.
I was going to say, talk about a true soccer player.
Did you have to come out in the championship game?
Nope.
Nope.
You came off in the semifinal though, right?
Yeah,
But you were
so-
completely covered in blood at that point. You couldn't really hide.
So
hide
So I was
that
going to say,
fact.
how do they
During the
not
first-
see
In
it?
a 3 official system, the guy in the middle, yeah, absolutely.
They're all mic'd up. So,
So during
she's
the first
bleeding.
half, that's when I started bleeding with no toilet paper. They didn't even realize. Like I played until the end of the first half, and then in the second half I got hit again, and I had toilet paper this time, but I put it up my nose, and then he goes, "Why do you have toilet paper up my nose?" I said, "Just in case," even though it was bleeding. And he goes, "Take it out," and a whole clump of blood comes out. And I was like, oh.
I know, because I was down. I was watching the semifinal game, and you had already scored, so it was 1-0 by the time I had gotten there. And I think that was like one of the first things that I realized. I was like, oh man, that girl's definitely bleeding, because you could like see her taking care of it. And then I'm like, how long is the official going to let her play like that? Because you could see you were bleeding from where we were in the bleacher, and we weren't close. Like I was all the way up, and I was just like, this is hilarious. But it happened to us in our playoff game. I mean, when I had one of my guys, and he's defending a corner, and I didn't think he defended it as well as I thought he should have, and I subbed him out. And when he comes out, his completely face is red. It's all over his arms and hands. I'm like, he walked right by the official, and the official never said anything. So it's just like, it's one of those weird things that when you say he wasn't even aware that you were bleeding, it's not shocking.
Yeah.
It's not a shocking thing to me whatsoever.
Well, when you're taking care of it on the field, you can hide that apparently.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and you're playing mostly in the middle of the field too, so it's not like, you can hide off to the sideline a little bit.
so next year, part of the required uniform for guys, at least, I'm going to tell them just to kind of keep some tissue with them in case.
Little fanny pack.
Yeah, those
no fanny
little,
packs. You
no
can-
the little or the little nose things that you have in your med kits.
There you go.
Just put that up there and
You're
get
fine.
and just get after
You're
it. Yeah.
fine.
It's fine.
If the officials aren't going to say anything, why
Well, we
should
talk all that, right? Just rub some dirt in it.
Yeah,
That's fine.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I remember in the semifinal game, obviously, we were covering it, and I remember I saw you got hit, you took the header, and then immediately grabbed the tissues, and my first thought was, what a freaking trooper. Like any other player would be like, coach. She's like, I got this. I'm just going to. So, great job,
Thank you.
Didn't want to come out of the game.
No, I mean, it makes sense.
Who does?
Not in a big spot. I mean, that was a 1-0 game too. Like you don't want to. Anything can happen, especially when you're on defense. There,
Yeah.
like you don't want to come out in a close game or at any point really. So, yeah, that's tough. That's
Definitely a
tough.
scary moment.
Now, before we, finish this up, let's go back to the championship game. Yellow card. I know I'm pulling out all of the
Yellow.
punches here.
Yellows happen.
Tell me about what
for
happened
sure.
with that. Like from your point of view, keep it school appropriate, obviously. But
So Maddie McKenna, she fouled some girl in St. Thomas, and she was about to take a shot, and I stood right in front of the ball. I was like, I'm going to make them ask for 10. And the girl in St. Thomas yells, yellow card, and coachman. And so then I back up a little bit, and then the ref comes over to me, and he goes, and there's 2 girls next to me. Who's going to take the yellow card? Who's going to take the yellow card? No one says anything. He goes, you're going to get it if no one takes it. And then I said, okay. And so he gives me the yellow card. I go off, and my coach had something to say, and he ended up getting a yellow card. But as soon as I came off, he was like, "Go up to the line." And luckily enough, they shot over the net, so I got right back in. But
so you just missed the free kick. That's
Yep.
nothing at all there.
Yeah,
Minor.
I was gonna say we saw you were kind of arguing it, and then you ran off, and as you ran off, you just ran right back right past the bench of the sub area. Man,
Dad loved that, didn't he?
Yeah.
He had to have loved that little bit of fire. If I know Matt.
Yeah.
well, cool. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any final thoughts or any final questions, I should say, for?
No, well done. What
Thank you
a
so
great
much.
run.
Thank you.
Way to cap off
Another great run for Guilford Fall Athletics.
Yeah.
Another dollar in the jar for my student loans. There we go. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you're going right back into soccer season with your travel
Yep.
team, so good luck with that.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing you back on the pitch in Guilford in the fall.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in just a moment, and we're on the other side of the break. We're going to talk football and a boys soccer championship preview, which I know is the only reason why these guys are here. There's soccer today.
I thought it was over when you guys played.
Well, that's what I thought.
Wasn't that the
I thought-
championship?
It felt like it.
Yeah.
Did you guys make the playoffs? Oh, wait, no,
we
you did. I'm
we
sorry.
did, yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I got that
I'm
one.
sorry.
We got that one extra game.
Oh, sorry. Right.
No, Gophers in the championship again.
Gracie,
we know.
Gracie's like, can I come back
we
for
know,
that?
Grace.
I'm like,
Yeah, you're probably trekking down to that game, no?
Yep.
Yeah. Rooting for Mascoma?
Of
Oh,
course.
so, real quick,
We have
actually.
it on tape.
Quick funny thing. So Allie Kenyon is most likely going to come and work for us this winter, and after we talked about that in August, and end of the soccer season, I'm like, hey, so when do you want to come, start working? And she's like, well, probably after playoffs. So I'm like, oh, so after your first round game?
Oh.
And she was like, well, and I'm like,
you're
okay.
brave.
So then after you guys won that first round game, I walked to the boys game, and she shows up and she goes, I thought we'd be out. I'm like, well, luck happens every once in a while. So then after the championship game, I walked up to her at the high school, and I was like, you're out the first round. And she was like, yeah, made you eat your words again. So
I have to give her credit. She did say the final score for our game was going to be 3-1 us.
Nice.
psychic.
Yep.
Psychic. Anyways.
Could back it up.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you're right. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're going to take a commercial break. On the other side of the break, more sports talk here from the Elite Sports Academy.
We're having a huge sale on mattresses this weekend for 3 days only.
At Scheibel's Family Mattress in Belmont, you never have to wait for a gimmicky sale. Scheibel's has everyday low prices on mattresses and futons, including Gold Bond mattresses made right here in New England, and flippable two-sided mattresses. Scheibel's has been in business for over 10 years and is family-owned and operated. Stop by Scheibel's today for low prices every day. No pressure, no gimmicks, no kidding. Scheibel's Family Mattress, Route 3, next to the Home Beautiful Bargain Outlet.
Drew Auto Parts, a division of Camaro Heaven, understands that you are looking to save. They have used vehicle parts for all makes and models, including used batteries and tires. Their parts are guaranteed and can be shipped all over the country. Have a car that you are tired of looking at? Drew Auto Parts is always looking for new vehicles and even have good used vehicles for sale. Family owned and operated and proud to have been part of the Lakes region for almost 30 years. Drew Auto Parts on Clark Road in Tilton and online at CamaroHeaven.com. Before you buy new, check with Drew Auto Parts.
My community was there when I needed it.
Is always ready to help.
And can be counted on time and time again.
My community.
My community.
My community is Lakes Region Community College.
Enroll now for upcoming classes. Learn more at lrcc.edu.
At Bank of New Hampshire, our mission is to build brighter futures for our customers, employees, and communities. We are committed to supporting impactful organizations, which contribute to enhance the health and vitality of the communities in which we live, work, and play. We understand our role in making your community, your neighborhood, your life special, playing an integral part in New Hampshire's growth since 1831. Visit us at one of our 21 convenient locations or online at banknh.com to join Bank of New Hampshire today. We are your community bank, member FDIC.
All right, folks, so we are back here at the Elite Sports Academy. First of all, once again, I want to say thank you to Gracie for taking time. I know most high school kids are probably still asleep on a Sunday at this time. No, I mean, think about it. I would be still sleeping right now.
Okay. Says a lot about you.
It does. I know. But just want to say, you guys are mean. Just want to say thank you again to her for joining us. We're going to do what we did with the field hockey team with their soccer team tomorrow. Nice. So we're going to sit down with them and interview them, and that should probably be released sometime this week. But follow us on our social media outlets and everything to hear the official when we're releasing that. Nice. So moving on here to football. First for Division III, which I've been doing Division II first, so I don't know why I switched up these notes. But anyways, for Division III, there were only 2 games yesterday. They went right into semifinals. It was number 1 Trinity hosting number 4 Interlake Moultonboro, and number 2 Monadnock hosting number 3 Campbell. Trinity beat Interlake Moultonboro 38-14, and Campbell beat Monadnock. Yeah, thank you.
Monadnock.
Yeah.
Monadnock won that one.
Did they?
I believe so, yes.
All right, hold on. No, okay.
Well, I mean, that's what you have on your...
Do I?
Oh, no. No, yeah, you're right. I read it wrong.
Hang on a minute.
Yep.
I'm going to double check that now.
Joke on me. Yep. Campbell won. Campbell's good.
But anyways.
Dan's been reading for several years now.
Yeah.
Reading.
Left to right, up, down.
I'm proud of you. He clearly can't read my notes. That's okay. I have apparently a certain note-taking skill.
I know. This isn't APA or whatever we were forced to do.
We'll call it. I know. I actually posted a quick side note. I posted this photo on Facebook of this, and I tagged my communications professor from college. He never commented yet, so I don't know if that's like a...
It just means you're in trouble.
I don't know if that was I'm busy, or if it was Devin, what are you doing?
They're going to update your transcript?
That's
That's what they're going to do.
Take a handful of points off.
Degree is gone. But anyways, so the championship game for Division III is next Saturday at Sauhegan High School. The time is to be announced. I assume that was probably because if Sauhegan won and they were hosting, then they'd have to probably adjust that. But Sauhegan did win, but they're going to go to Guilford instead. But, so that game on Saturday, you can go to the game at Sauhegan High School, or you can watch on the NFHS network. That is an $11.99 monthly subscription fee to watch that game. But just want to be transparent and honest with everybody. But, so that hopefully, I think that should be a good game. I mean, I would assume. I don't really know much about, Trinity, I think is probably going to beat Campbell, but I don't know.
Did they play each other in the season, or?
I believe they did.
Yeah.
It's based. Division III. It's Trinity,
right,
and then everyone else. and we've talked about that in some of these other sports. Right. But that's just the way football is. It's just how it's been this year. Trinity was the top dog for a reason, and they were really good. Interlakes gave it their best effort.
Yeah.
But that's just it's a tough team to overcome. We did turn the ball over a couple of times, which makes it a little more difficult, which gave Trinity some shorter field. And to a really good team, you can't afford to do that once, let alone a couple of different times. And we just don't have the kind of firepower needed to overcome those kind of situations. And we had a good year. It was the first time back in the playoffs for our football program in many, many years, since probably the back-to-back championship defeats that we got saddled with a handful of years ago. But they had talked about wanting to be a Final Four team, and their play held up to get to that goal.
Right. Nice. Yeah, no. So not St. Thomas, sorry.
Trinity
and Campbell did play each other in September, and it was a 36-22 loss for Campbell. So Trinity beat them 36-22, but still, it's a somewhat close game in a football.
It's a competitive game, and this time again for a championship, for a playoff game, it's going to be a tight game, and that's really what you want from a state championship game. And Campbell obviously has figured a few things out, because defeating Monadnock and at the score that they beat him by was no easy feat there.
Especially if you look at how, Campbell has 2 losses all year, and it was 36-22 at Trinity, and then they lost 52-8 to Monadnock.
Right.
So
they figured something out.
They either had some guys who were hurt, sick, or somebody was missing, but to do that and be at Monadnock too, to win that playoff game, that says something. That should be
a good game.
That should be a competitive game.
Right.
That should be competitive, for sure.
Yeah, it should be, definitely. We'll see how that game goes. We'll talk about that game next week on the show here. For D2 football, hang on, I got to change my graphics. I'm doing everything over here, doing everything.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, guy.
Anyways, we'll pretend that's happening. There were 4 quarterfinal games happening yesterday. Guilford Belmont. Don't say it. I know.
I wasn't gonna.
I know I said 4 in quarter. Anyways, Guilford Belmont hosted St. Thomas. Sauhegan hosted Kennett. Pelham hosted Plymouth, and Bow hosted Hanover. Guilford Belmont won against St. Thomas 24-0. Sauhegan beat Kennett 49-7. Pelham beat Plymouth 63-14. And Bow beat Hanover 32-0. Want to say real quick, all these scores based off of the NHIA website, so what's been reported by the athletic directors and stuff.
So those would be accurate scores.
They would be accurate, but I've had it once where
99.9% of the time they're accurate. Yeah, there is the off chance that they hit the wrong side.
Some things happen.
The score,
it's 62-14 instead of 63, but still, I get what you're saying. But I figured I'd just put that out there. But anyways.
And Division II obviously has more teams, which is why they have a larger tournament. We'll just jump right into these semifinals. Guilford Belmont, number 1 seed.
Yep.
Top dog. They've played extremely well, undefeated. Another $1 in the container here for Guilford.
Waits 50 cents.
I know, and it's Guilford and Belmont.
Yeah.
But they didn't play Sauhegan because they're in a different division or a different conference.
Yeah.
In Division II, and Sauhegan blew out Kennett Sauhegan's also blown out a lot of teams in the regular season, and Sauhegan was a very, very good team. So that's
for a semifinal matchup. That's going to be a game.
I mean, and Guilford's going to host that one, so that one you'll have a little bit of home turf, so that's nice.
Well,
Sauhegan,
home grass.
Well, yeah, exactly. But Sauhegan has a little bit of a trip, but I mean that Sauhegan's going to be that's a tough Final Four. Not that Pelham and Bow are going to be. It's completely different, and that would have, one of those teams is who you would have wanted to get. Bow shut out Hanover, which in football is not easy to do, and Pelham put up 60. So
against Plymouth, which is, and to be fair to Plymouth, they're not the juggernaut they've been for 30 years.
But tradition.
Is,
Plymouth.
That's a shocking score.
Exactly.
But again, where you kind of look at scores and you go, all right, you tip your cap to Pelham, and Pelham did what they were supposed to do.
And Pelham is up where they should be. They were in Division III last year, and nobody could touch them. So they're up. They're up where they probably should have been and should be, but to see they're still putting up points in bunches means they're still very, very competitive. So realistically, these are really good games to have for the Final Four, or semifinals. And Guilford's got their hands full with the Sauhegan team. I mean, they've had a really good year so far. Both teams had. I expect this game to be close. I can't imagine it's a blowout in either direction.
No. The Sauhegan Guilford Belmont game.
Sauhegan Belmont Guilford, yes.
Well,
Guilford Belmont, whatever.
I can tell you where you can watch it. Watch it live here on DPPG Network. Look at that.
Oh, no way.
I know, right?
Or just trek over to the Guilford Meadows and.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me phrase that. Yeah, watch in person.
Watch it live. It should be good.
Yeah.
If there's a football game you're going to go, a high school football game you're going to go watch.
Right.
Next Saturday is
that's the one to go.
Kind of must see.
Oh, exactly. And with a where is that final being played? Do we know?
They hadn't announced it yet because it was to be determined, according to.
Well, it's
I think it was. Did we talk about it being Bedford High School?
I was going to say the Division III time was to be announced. If you were just about to say that,
we're hosting it at a central New Hampshire neutral site, Bedford.
Makes sense. Like that. Look, if this game was played in Florida, it'd be in a stadium.
Yep.
In a legit stadium. If it was in Texas, it'd be in a massive stadium. Like these games would be monster games.
Yeah.
In hot, states where football
markets,
is God.
Well, and when the last time I've at Interlinks we've had football for a handful of years now, 10 and maybe 15 going on 20. And we've hosted championship games at the high school because that's what it used to be. It was always home of higher seed, and it's a great experience.
Yeah.
It's fun to just look around and see out all the people that you have to come through. I've also been to championship games at UNH where it's hosted there, and that realistically should be where those kind of games should be played at. If we're going to talk about just trying to keep everything on the even scale.
Yeah.
I mean, for baseball, we played at a minor league stadium. It's
pretty sweet.
It's an unbelievable experience, and to have it at a college campus like UNH is a really good facility, and Interlinks was fortunate enough to go there, back-to-back years. Both are really great venues to have your championship run finish. Not saying that Bedford's not, and it probably, as a Division I school, it can probably host
it's a beautiful facility.
Quite a few people, but you would like to see it at a larger, like it would be at any other state.
Right. Look, you go just south of us to Massachusetts, all those football finals are played at Gillette.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling than to be in high school and going, I'm going to step onto the Patriots pitch and play a championship game.
Exactly, the same place that some of these, high-end NFL guys are playing on.
Exactly.
And I get there's probably a cost that come with that, or there's a scheduling, and it's probably a lot to deal with, but
they get it done. So what you're saying is we need an NFL team in the state of New Hampshire.
I think that might be a little bit of a jump from what he was saying, but
I think we need to just poach the Patriots up here to New England, or take them up a little further.
Look, they could bus all these players and teams down to Gillette and have a New Hampshire day, state championship games. You're shaking your head. Why wouldn't you do that?
I would, but who's paying for it?
Robert Kraft. Come on.
Yeah, he's got to be watching this broadcast.
Exactly.
Let's get your Patriots airplane out here. We'll take the short trek from Manchester to Boston.
Right. Robert, if you could do a favor to New Hampshire, we'd appreciate it. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God.
You were not expecting that on the
No,
old,
it was not.
All
on the
you can do
docket.
is ask.
Yeah, exactly.
All you can do is
ask.
ask.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're going to be told.
If he says no, all right, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
We'll go back to the whiteboard.
I say if Robert Kraft is watching this show, we're showing up in suits next week.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I was gonna say you guys are in.
Done
We're all
deal.
in t-shirts.
Done deal.
I'm wearing a T-shirt.
That's what I'm saying. We're all. Oh well.
Trade safe.
There it is. I didn't say it.
I have no problem saying it.
It's either you mentioned trade safe or that Interlakes needs lights.
Hey, you know what? I'm saving that for later on here when we get to the D3 boys.
There we go.
I was gonna say we were talking about that in the semifinal. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We were talking about that semifinal, and I sneaked that in for you. But anyways, yeah, I mean the semifinals next week I think are going to be good regardless of whether you go to Sauhegan and Guilford or Bowen Pelham. I mean, I would think that Pelham with a 63-14 win, I feel like that's kind of a statement right there. You know, to kind
It's
of
a
say,
statement,
hey,
but it also could have the opposite effect. You know, did you do everything to perfection in that quarterfinal matchup and then come to a semifinal and have to repeat it in a semifinal match? And Pelham more than likely is a team that can do that, but that is not easy, because you had your way with a historically dominant football program. Doesn't mean that you're going to walk into Bo or have Bo come down to you and be like, "Oh, hi, we're here. We're gonna have our way with you."
Right. No, for sure.
And of course, you know, being in the two different conferences inside the division, Pelham and Bow didn't play each other in the regular season. Guilford Belmont didn't play Sauhegan in the regular season.
Yep.
Perfect.
Pelham
makes it perfect for me.
Sauhegan's only loss was 28-21 to Pelham.
Wow.
So Sauhegan had one loss, and that was all year. Pelham was undefeated. Bo's probably only loss of the season came to Guilford Belmont.
Yep.
So I mean, those are four really good caliber teams that you want to have in the semifinal.
Yeah. If you're going to watch high school football next weekend, you really have your choice of two really good games.
Right.
And I mean, and plus the D3 final for boys is going to be solid too. I mean, Trinity and Campbell are going to. That'll be either a low-scoring game with a lot of high-power tackling, or it's going to be not a lot of defense and a whole lot of scoring. And between the semifinal for D2 and the D3 final, I mean, you got a pretty good Saturday right there if you're, looking to make the trek to watch as much as possible.
Yeah. It's the first weekend without NASCAR, so I got to be doing something. Sorry, you got to throw in trade safe. I got to throw in.
Is that a tear? I'm not crying.
And MLB's over now too. So
I mean, yeah, it's
a rough.
NHL's heating up though.
It is true.
Although watching the Rangers take on the Bruins the other night was kind of sad.
It was pretty awesome
for you guys. I'm a Rangers fan.
It's all right.
That hurt.
Toronto beat Boston last night anyway, 2-1.
All right, time to humble you guys.
It's all right.
All right. So, any final thoughts on football before we turn it over
let's
here?
Go to soccer.
Yeah, I agree. It's about time.
Pass the ball.
All right. So for Division III boys soccer, that championship game is in 2 hours. Here as we just turned the 11 o'clock hour here on the East Coast. But 2 hours away at Manchester Memorial, it is number 3 Mascoma with a 16-2 record, taking on number 1 undefeated 19-0 Guilford. I know Foley loves that I just said that because of how the semifinals went. But
it's a game, buddy. Come on.
But they didn't play each other in the regular season, so no notebook, to go back on and say, oh, well, they beat them, they won this, did this. But real quick before we talk about the championship game, let's talk about the semifinals, which we covered, so I should be able to use my own video to recap, but I got lazy last night and didn't make it the highlight reel. Yeah, being honest. Wow. Sorry. I did everything else.
Like I wanted to rewatch it, but,
that was the other thing. I was like, maybe I shouldn't bring up the 4 goals.
I mean, I didn't see the Mascoma Campbell game. I would like to see some highlights of that.
Well, okay, yeah,
really
I was going to say. So let me verbally recap that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Roughly 5 minutes in, I don't remember the exact minute, but roughly 5 minutes in, Mascoma scored. Don't remember who. I know I'm already striking out.
We got there right after.
Were you there for the first game too?
We got there right after Mascoma had scored.
Okay.
So as we came in, they had scored. Didn't see who had scored, but my understanding was it was a shot just top of the 18.
It was probably the Thompson kid, most likely, number 11, I think.
Yeah.
He's their go-to guy. I mean, they feed him and
He
they
has
do a
a
great
motor.
Oh yeah,
A motor.
He is go.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a shot. I remember that it was a shot from past the 18, probably about 20 or so yards out.
Yeah.
Either way, goal in the 5th minute, and then fast forward 70 minutes later, Mascoma gets their second goal, and at that moment, the Mascoma fan base sitting on our side of the bleachers start chanting, "Start the buses."
Oof.
And
so there's a lot of time left.
And Campbell then literally marches down the field while they're chanting "Start the buses" and scores.
Nice.
And that whole place went silent.
That's karma, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If in watching the game for a period of time, we were able to sit and watch. We watched the rest of the first half. In the second half, we kind of headed towards the locker room and standing outside the locker rooms watching the game, seeing the result because it was 1-0 forever, and really felt in watching the game that Campbell they were due to put the ball in the back of the net, and they had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and just kudos to the Mascoma defense, kudos to the Mascoma goalkeeper. They were able to keep a lot of that. A lot of wide open, what we would view as really easy attempts on goal. They were able to disrupt Campbell enough to kind of keep it away. And then Mascoma went on these kind of long runs of just trying to possess the ball in their offensive third for as long as they could, and that just put even more pressure on Campbell, because then Campbell just got into this. The second they possessed the ball, they were looking straight up the field, and they came at you with everything.
Well, especially when you have late time and you need a goal.
Yep.
I mean, you're almost kind of
You're crashing the net.
Well, you're up against the wall. You got that little bit of a fire. You know there's not a whole lot of time left. You've got to get one, and you're just kind of hoping to get it to overtime. And at that point, at the end of the game, like it's a scramble, and it's a scramble for both teams.
Yeah, right.
I mean, one's trying to score, the other one's trying to hold them off and do everything you can, but you can only hold the ball in the corner for so long before something happens.
I was going to say at that point they moved Justin Edmonds up top, right, from the defense, which is. We had Eric Bordeaux announcing the game, and he had pointed out that could be good and or bad.
Right.
Because you pull out your main guy in the back, he could score, but also now one of your
look,
main
you're
guys
down
not in the back.
You've got to take chances.
Exactly.
You've got to. And so when we were in the locker room doing our final talk, and we had opened the door just to see what the score was, and peeked out and was like, "Oh, it's 2-0." We were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And then, we did our final thing. We heard the whistle blow and came out, and we looked, and we're like, 2-1? What?
Wait a minute.
What happened?
Wait a minute.
So we didn't see, we actually didn't see any of the goals. We heard the crowd on Mascoma's second goal. But, again, over the season, we played Mascoma to a 1-1 tie in double overtime. They were very physical. They moved the ball, and it's not that they move the ball with a purpose and it's going to this person, to this person, to this person. It's just they're relentless. They just keep coming at you, and that's really what we saw. And in our game against them, with under a minute to go in the second overtime, we had a wide open look from the 6 and had a player who tried to hit the home run or hit the ball through the back of the net.
Not as hard as you can hit it,
and missed. But look, they're a solid team. They're very deserving to be there. If Mascoma, I mean they struggled really for years in soccer, and in the last 5 years they've been able to really turn this program around. A shout out to Tina Fleming. Who's the principal at Mascoma, who's an awesome woman. Her kid, they live in Belmont. All her kids went through our system. Her son Tyler played for me, and how excited they are to be in this moment. And it's not, to me, it's not lost on a team like Mascoma that they're in a state championship game. It's the first time ever in their high school career.
Oh, absolutely.
And for them, it's huge.
Right.
For them to be that. So
and they're coached well over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember his name now, but I know he was there for a while, and then he left, and then he came back. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, the last 5 or 6 years, they've been really good.
Yeah.
The Silas kid.
Seiler kid was
Seiler definitely
main
helps.
Reason why
he definitely. But you need a kid or two like that to turn your program around, regardless of sport.
Exactly.
And he did that. And unfortunately, last year he had the broken ankle, so you never really know like how well that Mascoma team would have done in his senior year. I mean, that kid was great.
Mm-hmm.
He was an outstanding, one of the better soccer players I've ever had to go up against.
Yeah.
And this year, I mean, we played him tough for a little while. We were well behind the ball, just bodies wise. We were basically a JV team that last week of the season, and they moved the ball well. It'll be interesting to see how they handle Guilford's pressure, because like you and I know, and as Devin can attest, I mean, Guilford's in your end from the very first whistle, and it's like with 7 or 8 bodies, and it feels like 13 or 14, and against us, and I watched them play Winnisquam a little bit, they basically relied on those back 4 and another guy or maybe 2 to come back and shut down an attack here and there, and they just left 3 or 4 guys up top to just kind of wait for that feeding ball to get there. And if you go with that approach against a really good Guilford team, it'll be late early because you have to have bodies back to get back there. So it'll be interesting to see how they've gotten ready to prepare for that. Really, really strong. I mean, 19-0. I mean, that's a tough.
We've talked about this, so I'm going to transition into our game if that's okay.
Fine by me.
Right, so
I was going to say real quick, 4-0 Guilford defeated Belmont.
Lost 4-0, but it was like we've always Dan and I chatted over the course of the whole season, and the one message we gave to our team all season long, we played Guilford twice, is you can't give up the early goal. You just can't. And the early goal we gave up was off a long throw-in, which for them is a corner kick.
Every single time, I must have said it 1,000 times in the broadcast on that.
I think they had, realistically, they probably had 5 or 6 real corners, but 11 or 12 other corners from throw-ins.
Right.
And in that first half, our mindset going into the game was, you got to keep them off the board as long as you can. We had to create chances, create opportunities, which were difficult to do at best.
Oh, absolutely.
And what was unique was, the goal we gave up in 7 minutes in was a long throw, and the kid who kind of from Guilford went up to get it, went to head it, missed, but it skipped off his back into the far post, and you went, that just can't. It's not that it just can't happen, but that's soccer.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It's almost a little bit of that Guilford luck.
Yep.
Which
they create their own luck.
I know exactly.
They create their own luck.
It's not like it's a fluke. It's not. And that's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like when it is, but like you and I have done this long enough to know that if we throw that ball and it hits our player like that, it's not going in the back of the net.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just unfortunately enough that when it hits a post, nobody's there.
Right.
Or it hits a post and goes the opposite way.
Right.
And I've played Guilford a lot. We played them twice this season. They beat us 17-0 combined in the 2 games. It was not fun to be on our end of it.
Yep.
They scored some really nice goals. They did. But in my experience with them, there is some times where it's just like if that was any other team, it's probably not hitting the post and going in.
Right.
And I don't know how to get to that point. I don't know what there is to do to get to that point. But at some point, you're just like, we want to just get a little bit of that Guilford luck. But, I mean, I did the game with Devin, and it was funny because anytime the ball was 25 yards and down, it's in the 18. Jacob's got to basically, and after the first goal you guys gave up, you could see that there was a little bit of a switch where he started, instead of not necessarily relying on your defense to clear that ball out, he was coming off the line to get the ball out of there. And you almost have to do that on a corner or those long throws because you want to be for sure know that it's going to get out of there. And you had some younger guys on that on their defensive back that played extremely well all season. And not that that's the be all end all, but like Jacobs had one of the best goalies in the entire state of New Hampshire, regardless of division. And you have to do that and he showed that leadership after that first one. Right. It's like, all right, I'm not going to let it handle. Like, I'm either going to go catch this like he did with a couple of their corners or some longer throws, but he was doing his best to get it out of there.
Right. He became a lot more aggressive inside the 6, off those long throws and punched. He probably had 6 or 7 punch outs, which he didn't necessarily have to do over the course of the season. Yeah. And so, as that game, wore on and stuff, we gave up the second goal we gave up really was an own goal. A kid, coming through the mix, and how many times a bouncing ball comes through there, and it just happened to
it's an unfortunate when it happens.
But when it happens, it is what it is, and you go. So we went into halftime down 2-0 with just the premise, if you call it a halftime speech, but we were just like, look, we have to create opportunities here in the second half. If it's not that our defense needs to do anything different, but we have to now create opportunities offensively. And in order to do that, we're going to start making changes. We're going to start shifting guys around to do what we felt was an opportunity to try to put the ball in the back of the net. And Guilford came out in the second half, and when we started making changes, they kind of went more to what they traditionally do, which is they're just going to slide the ball to the outside. They're going to send it up a wing. And if they get an open look, they're gonna put the ball on frame. And the 2 goals we gave up in the second half were beautiful goals because we were making changes and trying to get more of an offensive push.
And they had one waved off too because the kid was offside. So, I mean, it was fortunate. And you guys and that's the hard part of playing at Guilford at any point, let alone in the semifinal. You have to weather the storm as long as possible and try to keep them off the scoreboard as long as possible. Right. But it's incredibly tough to do.
Yeah, it is.
And regardless of record, I mean, they could be not that it's ever happened, but they could be a 500 team, and it's still difficult to keep them off the board. And they've had a really good year. Dave's an incredible coach. We've been talking about it forever. He basically invented soccer. Like it's just one of those things. I mean, they're a really good team, and the Caleb made a great. I mean, you had a couple of chances there in the middle of the first half, I think. And Caleb made a great save that just went up over the top, and he came out and it was aggressive on that corner. And if you get one there, it's 2-1, and it's a completely different game at that point. So
with Guilford, you've got to be able to score. You've obviously right. It's
easier said than done. Right? Yeah,
but you've got to, and the longer you don't get on the board, you press, you try things, A lot of guys end up doing a little bit more individually than you'd want them to do.
Yep.
And again, you're playing on turf, which this is more of a compliment to Guilford than anything, right? But they don't need to be any faster.
No, you would much rather play them in a rough at a golf course. Absolutely.
And so, and that ultimately is, the thing about Guilford this year is everything they do is with a purpose. Everything. I don't care if the flick off the kid's back, I'm telling you, is with a purpose.
It wasn't a fluke that kid meant to do that.
Yeah, everything, balls that are played up the side, it's a flick on with the head, and every other player is reading that. A kid jumps into the air, they go to flick it on. The second that kid jumps in the air, 2 guys are making a forward run beyond him. And then all of a sudden you're a defender and you're going, oh, I got this. Well, maybe I don't because now I have 2 guys on me. And that's what makes them truly a relentless team.
Yeah, and that's something they've always had for as long as I've been doing this. I mean, just finished up year 8. I mean, talented teams or not as talented teams for Guilford, they're still always in the top 10. They're still always,
They're strong.
Yeah.
They're very strong. It was for us it was a great season, hands down great season.
Yeah, I mean you had 3 losses all year, and they happened to be against the number 1 team, the number 1 team in the division.
But to your point, like we played them 3 times. We were outscored 11-1. in 3 games, and you take some consolations and stuff from it, but we just obviously had hoped to put together a better show than obviously what we did, and. I'm gonna graduate some really talented players.
You had some of those senior guys are top notch young men, regardless of just
losing
soccer.
Jacob is gonna be a biggie. Losing the Riley kid, Will Riley, is what an outstanding year he had.
And he stayed healthy.
That was huge. That was huge. Liam Waldron. I mean, you know Liam really well.
Yeah, great kid.
What a phenomenal midfielder he was for us. We lose. We don't graduate him. He just has to go back to Spain. Alejandro.
Yeah.
What a soccer god blessing that was. And then I lose a kid on the defense in Jamison Gaudet. And then next year I gotta find a goalie.
Speaking
small thing.
Speaking from experience, I mean, we obviously graduated Alex Potter,
right?
2 years ago, not last spring, and we talk about like, it's just got to find a goalie, you got to find a goalie, you got to find a goalie, and Brad did a good job for us this year. I mean, we probably played one of the toughest schedules in of all of Division III. I mean, if you look back, we played 13 of the 16 playoff teams.
Right.
We played with 7 of the 8 quarterfinal teams, 3 of the 4 Final Four teams, and both teams in the championship in the same week.
Yeah.
And so he did a really good job. And I started a lot of kids who didn't have a lot of varsity experience. So to sit here and be like, it's not easy to find a goalie when you have some that were some of the best you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would put Potter at the top of the list. I mean, the kid was outstanding. He was absolutely outstanding, post to post, corner to corner, punt the ball. Off the field so far, and Jacob was outstanding as well. I mean, we battled you guys for 3 of the 4 years that Jacob was here. I mean, Laconia had a great one there with Lucas for a while too, and it's just like those positions at the time when you're in that experience with that really, really good keeper.
Yeah.
You don't want to necessarily say you take it for granted. But you do, because when they're gone and you're just like, we need another goalie, and you're just like, this kid's going to automatically, he's not going to be as good, but he's going to do some of those same things.
You end up, from a coaching standpoint, you end up relying on guys. And, Jacob started day 1 as a freshman, and people were like, you're going with a freshman keeper? And I'm like, yeah. Because, he's all we got, and he's got big shoes to fill. And he's a kid who we think can.
Who was the goalie before him? Was that
Ware?
And then it was Leclerc before that.
Leclerc before him.
Yeah, you guys have had
Taylor Brace before him.
Yeah, you've had some top-notch
keepers.
Yeah.
And when you look at these guys who've come through our program from goalkeeping, I've got I think great candidates for goalkeepers. Next year, it's just going to be: is it going to be a junior or is it going to be a freshman?
Well, and the one of the positives you have going forward is how many of those back guys are sophomores?
Yeah, well, two of my backs,
because you have Waldron and you have Owen and Jackson, right? They're both sophomores. I mean that.
Manny's a junior.
So if you're bringing back 3 of 4 who played to a Final Four, had a ton of experience, yes, you're losing Jacob, who's an incredible keeper.
Yeah.
You can basically almost rely a little bit more on your defense and just be like, there's going to be a little bit of times where you might necessarily get beat, and that shot that Jacob's going to get to, John's probably not going to get to it. Right. So it puts a little bit more pressure on the 10 guys in front to just work a little bit harder to get to that point.
Yeah. I'm graduating my entire midfield, so. Which is fine. It's I lose. It's never easy.
You don't necessarily have a choice.
You're like, can you stay for another year? No,
exactly.
As much as we all would want, some of these guys to have another run at it, but it's I had the other outside mid for me was Ronan Taylor, and he's a kid who played all 4 years and really kind of like this year really kind of became what we thought he was going to be. So as guys develop, I've got a wonderful freshman class, a really talented sophomore class, but I only have 3 juniors. So we're still going to be technically young, next year, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine by
it's
you,
just, we've got some nice kids coming in next year who will be freshmen, and we'll look to make another run. We'll see.
Well, and that's the lucky part. I mean, you guys have your middle school team, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, won the Little Lakes Region tournament there, which is always something good, and you have a bunch of numbers coming back. I mean, I'm graduating 6. One of them is going back to Argentina next year with Nacho. I mean, he was a great addition to our group, and he was an incredible kid and young man and athlete. I might get 2. I might have 2 incoming freshmen next year. So we're graduating 6, bringing in 2. Like our football team was really good. Like some of those fringe seesaw kids might go the football route. So it's a little more difficult now. But I mean, I had 34 kids total this year, and 20 of them are freshmen and sophomore.
Nice.
So we're still going to be on the younger side.
That's
we're still gonna have some kids. I mean, we graduated Luke Brown, who was a 4-year player and would play literally anywhere. He was just very unselfish. He moved the ball. He wore number 7, and I had to retire for a little while, just because I wanted to make sure the next kid who got that deservingly so of it. And I think now, once I get that one back, it's probably going away for a little while, just based on the fact that Luke always did everything he ever asked for. He was a great kid. Worked extremely hard, and he was one of the better players for all 4 years, not just this year as his senior year. I mean, we're graduating Brad, who was our goalie this year, Nacho, obviously. We got Zach Spakuza back he took a year off to play hockey, ended the season playing with basically a separated shoulder, but he's a hockey kid.
He's used to it.
Yeah, I mean, he had it taped up for 2 weeks, and he was going for it. I mean, we had a handful that they're great kids, and we played Dat Conant, and it was such a winnable game for us that I felt bad, because we had talked about like trying to get that rematch at your place for that Sunday, and you guys held up your end of the bargain, and I was like, I want to get there too. Like, this is what we want. And we gave up a couple of goals that were preventable, but still, like, Conant was good. Like, they had decent skill. They were fast.
They were really good.
But like
His 2 backs were awesome.
Yeah. So what we were talking about, I know you and I talked about it a little bit before you guys played, and Devin had mentioned Campbell bringing up one of their defenders up to try to score late. Conant did it the other way. They were up 3-1 and took the kid who scored 2 goals and put him back on defense.
Right.
So instead of having a 4-man back for the last 25, 30 minutes of a game, they had a 5-man back.
Yeah.
And so we were moving the ball decently well in the second half, and we scored to make it 3-2. But they're in a 5-man back. They have one of their better players by far. Right. Skill wise was in the back too, so it made it a little more difficult to go the other way. Not necessarily thinking they were trying to survive, but they were trying to shut us down a little bit, and that's a smart coaching move. If we had tied it up, who knows? He's probably going back up top, but it was a preventable. I mean, we had a good season considering we wanted to get back into the playoffs. I wanted a 9-win season. We finished with 7, and we dropped a couple that we probably could have played a little bit better in. But I mean, all in all, I mean, it was a good fall. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting ready for next year and seeing like who we have coming back and who returns where and whatnot. But I mean, it was a fun fall regardless of how it ended.
Yep. It's difficult when you, like, I look at our season and ultimately where we ended up, as you said, you end a year with 3 losses and you're like, wow, great year, well done. Well, all 3 losses came to one team. And then, we finished the year with we were 14-3-2. And again, as I've said to the world, first day of preseason, if you told me we were going to win 14 games and be in a semifinal, check. I'll take it right now.
Well, I remember talking to you up at Plymouth, and you're like, I have 11 guys where it's going to be a struggle. And then you blew our doors off. I'm like, is it really going to be a struggle?
But there's where, you just going into a season, you just don't know. You don't know until you get your core group of guys that are going to do the work and push. And like my guys did a phenomenal job of pushing each other every day in training.
Yeah.
And that's what made us, a stronger team.
Well, and it's like we talked about with Gracie earlier. I mean, they were a completely different team from that first time they played St. Thomas to the championship St. Thomas.
Right.
So it's really the beginning of the season, like you had mentioned like earlier, where you were short numbers and it took a little while to like get everybody back up to full strength. What you do in September really means nothing.
Right.
Like it's a nice little base to try to like, if you're playing well, great. If you're not playing well, like there's still a lot of time to get back into it.
Right.
But I mean, it's all about as soon as the calendar flips to October is when you really need to have that switch on to where you're going to be. And those few games you played in August and September is just basically your baseline of, are we okay? Are we are we good? Are there things we need to work on?
Yeah.
So by October, you basically know like, hey, we're either going to be really good or we're struggling. And you guys were in a really good position for most of the season, not just the end. I mean, like you said, you only lost at Guilford those 3 games. I mean, Guilford's Guilford for a reason.
There for a reason. Yep.
You don't go 19-0 on a fluke.
No. No.
I mean,
nothing about them is a fluke.
No, absolutely not.
And to highlight what's going to happen at 1:00 today, look, that no offense to Mascoma, and Mascoma's going to come out and they're going to give you every single thing that they have. And they're going to play a full 80 minutes of soccer.
You can't hold back.
Nope. They're not going to. No. I don't, regardless of what they're going to be up against. But it's a tall order. It's a tall order for Mascoma to come through and pull it off today. I wish them the best. How amazing would it be for them to pull off this upset? And you kind of hope it happens, again, for a school like Mascoma. But Guilford has just a million different weapons and a million different ways to come at you. And in watching quite a bit of that semifinal game with Mascoma and Campbell, Campbell was able to get around their outside backs a lot. And then once you're in behind those outside backs, they're looking to slide it, they're looking to move it. And if you're Guilford and you are going to get around their outside backs and you start sliding it, they're sliding it to a wide open guy.
Yeah.
And it's not 1-2, like Campbell had like 2 possible options. Guilford's going to have 4 or 5 options that they can go to.
Just between Donnelly, Burnham, and the Keenan kid
up
top.
Those guys just move.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the reality of the game, I think. And then and Guilford probably in the first 5 minutes of this game is either going to have 2 or 3 corner kicks, or they're going to have 4 or 5 long throw-ins, which are corner kicks anyway.
And it could very well be a goal in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part of almost that David and Goliath type matchup, and that's something that I faced in the spring when we're playing. We're down at Fisher Cat Stadium. We're the 3 seed first ever championship run. We're playing Monadnock, who'd won 40 games in a row, defending champs. Like, we knew they were really, really good. And you got to weather the storm for so long. But it was 10-0 like that.
Right.
They were head and shoulders just the best team in Division III, and you almost I remember telling the guys hey, we just got to show that we belong here at this point. Chip away if we can, but at some point it's going to be it's getting late early. The decision's coming along, and that's almost something that this championship game is kind of mirroring a little bit, because it's Mascoma's first one ever, like we talked about earlier with volleyball. Are they content with the Campbell win? Are they okay with being there for the first time? What happens when Guilford scores?
Right.
Because it's not going to be if Guilford scores. It's when Guilford scores.
Yeah.
Do they? Because they're 16-2. They've probably played a lot of competitive soccer. They're probably not a team that's going to implode on themselves if things start to snowball a little bit. How do they handle that adversity early? Because Guilford's going to be in their 18, 30 seconds into the game. Yeah. And that's even if Mascoma starts with the ball.
Right.
Guilford's an incredibly great program that is deserving of this moment, and Mascoma deserves it as well. They've gotten
absolutely.
They're 16-2 for a reason. They're a good team. I just want it to be a good game.
Yeah.
I want it to be a really good game. To me, it doesn't matter who wins. It would be if Mascoma knocks off Guilford. It's probably the largest win in state history,
soccer
let alone
history,
let alone for them. If Guilford wins, I mean, it's a Lakes Region team that is in our backyard that, you and I have played 5 times this season. Like, that's, it's the neighboring school that's a little bit of the rival, but at the same time, we both know, like, they're really good, and this is something that happens all the time.
This is probably, in my 23 years of coaching, I think this is, and this is saying a lot with Guilford, but I think this is probably the best team he's had in my 23 years. Just top to bottom, because if you look, when we had opportunities against them, we lost to them 3-0 at their homecoming. I mean, we had opportunities to score, and when we had the opportunities, you finally break down a defense that's given up 5 goals all year, and you're at the doorstep, and you're like, oh my God, we're actually going to score. He's got a talented goalkeeper behind him, behind a stellar defense, that you go, if they make a mistake, which they
Very rarely do, yeah.
Right? Chance is not making mistakes today.
No.
It ain't happening.
No.
And if you're able to have an opportunity, you've got to figure out a top-notch goalkeeper who really wasn't tested. We had a shot against him in the homecoming game. The Waldron kid took a shot 20 yards out, absolute bullet heading to the corner, had the world beat, and this kid completely 100% laid out, got a hand on it, and knocked it out. And we were like, all right, I don't know what else we can do.
I mean, we saw him at our place. I was talking to Dave, and they were going through their warm-up or whatnot, and some of the stuff he was getting to in warm-up. I mean, granted, for him, in a goalie, in a program like that, that's your work for the day.
Right.
Because you know that we're not getting the ball down there. Like, you know that. They're high school kids. I mean, let's face it. Like, they know we're absolutely not getting a shot, a corner, a throw-in 30 yards down. We're just not doing that. And for a guy like Caleb, who might not touch the ball a lot, it'll be passed back to him here and there. But, like, even against you guys in the Final Four, like, you had some chances, but he didn't touch the ball a lot.
No.
But, like, to still be ready when, you guys did take that shot that he made a really, really good save on to push it over for that corner. To just be ready in a game at that point in the season, taking – how many shots do you think he saw this year? 20?
Maybe. Again,
It's probably
gave up 5 goals.
It's probably not. It's probably not even 20.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a tough for him to stay
focused
from all the way through. That speaks volumes, not just for him, but for their program and just how well they're coached, top to bottom. I mean, it's a tough position to be. Right. But it's like you said. I mean, they have the Bolda kid, who is one of the best defenders in the entire state, regardless of division. They've got Keenan, Donnelly, Bolduc, Burnham, and the other 2 Burnhams. I mean, they've got a really good team, top to bottom. I mean,
everywhere.
And they're just – it's just
Dave. You got Dave. Obviously, it's not a shock to the world, right? Dave knows what he's doing.
Yep. And Herman's got to be one of the better JV/assistant coaches that
he is.
That's by far in our state.
But he's got Keenan's dad.
Yeah,
Corey is definitely knows his stuff. Corey played for Dave.
Yep, he sure
moons
did.
Ago.
Yep.
And so his the staff that he has there around him is they've worked all summer, all fall for this moment.
Yep.
And that's where they're at.
And it's a hungry group that didn't get to this point last year.
Correct.
And you knew I knew that going into the Final Four that absolutely they weren't going to let that one slide.
No. We knew going into the game that this was an uphill battle all the way. But you've got to put your team in a position where they've got to know they can go out and compete.
Yep.
And you do your best to compete. And when you look that we were down 2-0, and you're like, no, there's still a chance, because 2-0 is a dangerous lead in soccer. But the third goal was the death nail for us.
Yeah.
And they could have in that semifinal game tacked on 4 or 5 more. had they been on target, or because they had a couple that just rolled wide.
Yep, they had a handful of chances that were
and Jacob
close,
Jacob made a couple of phenomenal saves at point blank range against some wide open guys.
It's tough to beat a team 3 times, and you tip your cap to Guilford for doing it to you guys, unfortunately. But I mean, to do it in the Final Four a year after they got knocked out, to beat a team 3 times. I mean, you guys were a good four seed. It wasn't like you had there wasn't a bunch of flukes to get there. You don't lose 2 games in the regular season, and you don't deservingly so get the seeding that you guys got. I mean, you guys had a good year. What we say all the time. It's unfortunate that you ran into the buzzsaw of the Guilford Golden Eagles. I mean, we've talked about them. This is a playoff update preview, and we've talked Guilford Field Hockey Championship. We've talked Guilford Girls Soccer Championship. We've talked Guilford Belmont #1 seed Division II football. Could very well be in the championship. They had a cross country runner. They had the best cross country runner in our division.
No. Patrick won the entire.
Oh, did he?
Division III.
Oh, so he's the best he's the best cross country runner in our entire state.
15:05.2 was his
today
win.
is. Yesterday
was the meet of champs. That was his time. 15.
Oh, so
did he win the meet of champs?
Yeah, for individual.
Yeah, so I mean, and they were what?
I made a note of that.
And I think they were. I don't want to talk without necessarily knowing, but I'm pretty sure their team was probably either top or runners up for cross country.
One of the, I think
for
top.
Cross country they were runner
for boys.
Up.
Yeah,
for boys,
so I mean,
girls were I think 5th.
Either way,
but they're just all across the board in fall sports. They've been a dominant.
They've had 2 or 3 parades already.
Yep. I'm getting pretty used to flying the drone over that area of the.
They're a few hours away from potentially having another one within a 3-day span.
Potentially, we'll see.
And then you have football again. Like you could, in theory, at Guilford, run a table that's probably not been done.
It's been unmatched
ever in the entire state, regardless of the division you want to talk about.
Right.
Like I know there's another school. I want to say it was Bedford that won girls volleyball, girls soccer, maybe. One of the D1 schools won both, but you just don't see it.
No.
It's usually
Division 1, you're not going to see it.
It's usually one team, like boys is just, they win it and the girls just don't. It's just the way it is, or it's the other way around. But like to just have it, and Guilford missed out on the volleyball playoffs by a tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker with Laconia.
I mean, they could have very well have gotten in as well. Like they were. Like when we talk about it, it's just Guilford's world, and we're lucky to be in it. I mean, this fall is setting them up for their next season, which is good. You've got Guilford Belmont hockey, you've got Guilford basketball,
boys and girls.
I mean, exactly. I mean, like their baseball team's going to be bringing back some strong players. Like this
softball is always a conversation.
This is a school year that you might not ever see again. What they've already started with.
Remember the Concord Monitor used to run a capital area school championship, and so each season, if your school won, you got X amount of points, and at the end of the season, they would
I do remember that.
They'd show you what the standings were, but it was all 4 divisions of area schools that would compete in this, and they would be, right now no one would touch them because just from fall alone,
it wouldn't even be worth competing the rest of the winter and spring.
It doesn't matter.
Absolutely not, because what they've done is unprecedented for high school sports in New Hampshire, or in a long time. I mean, they're incredibly good.
Yeah, Caleb messaged me some stats real quick. 98 goals scored, only 5 allowed, and they only have let 1 goal maximum in every game.
Right.
So basically, what you guys said, just to just to back
second
that
game
up.
of the season.
It was they scored 98. They beat us 9-0 and 8-0. So if you take those 17 off, they still scored 70 against everybody else.
It's unreal. It's a good run. It's a phenomenal run for them. And look, whatever happens today, if Guilford comes out on top, it's well deserved. Yeah. If Mascoma finds a way, it's historic.
Yeah.
And wish Mascoma all the best. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in either direction, I'm just fortunate enough to be able to say I played those 2 teams to just be like, hey, we lost a state championship team at some point in the season. Obviously, it's when you're playing Guilford. I mean, it's top notch, but I mean, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a very, very good game, regardless of outcome.
Yeah,
should be good.
Yes, it will.
Cool. Well, I just want to point out for the last 46 minutes, I got 3 words in. Just putting that out there.
Well done.
Yeah, we did a really good job.
You guys don't know how you achieved to do it, but managed
well,
to do
it's
it.
you know, you threw us a softball there.
So. I mean, we can talk all day about boys soccer just based on there's so much parity and like anything can happen in it. So it's just one of those it's one of those sports that. Yeah. Especially in Division III, with there's so many teams. I mean, anything can happen here.
Any given day.
Yeah, any given Sunday now.
That's it.
Nope. Hey, finally the same work lined up.
Finals.
I know.
All right. Well, I guess I mean, I don't have anything else to talk about. What do you guys think?
I would just talk about the monthly card show.
Yes,
it's coming up.
Yes,
on
I was
November
waiting.
16th.
I was waiting for the Trade Safe plug here.
Powered by Trade Safe. It's free to register.
And
you know,
when
you
are
like
we adding
sports
lights? When are we adding lights?
Probably 2025, 27, 30. It'll be a while, unfortunately.
If you guys, if Interlakes gets lights, that means Belmont's about 10 years behind. That's okay.
I mean, I felt bad when you had messaged asking about trying to get on our turf.
Yeah.
Guilford did as well. I reached out to our AD. I was like, what can we do? I'm like, these are 2 teams that are in our backyard. Like, I know our football team's still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm like, can we bump them up a day to just give them, like, even if it's an hour,
Right.
like, just some things that they can get onto the turf. And she's like, we just can't do it.
Right.
I'm like, I understand. I do get it.
You know, I what I got to say is, like, I reached out to you, and Interlakes got back to us, you know, really quick. I'd reached out to New Hampton, to Tilton Prep, and they were phenomenal at trying to accommodate us. It just couldn't.
Yeah.
We couldn't make it work. But they also got back to me in like a minute, which blew me away. I was like, really?
And when you're trying to prepare for what you guys were trying to prepare for, you don't want it to necessarily drag out because if you have to shift or pivot or anything, you want to be able to do it in a quick manner. So.
But we reached out to probably 5 different places, and it just, you know, obviously all the prep schools are still playing.
Yeah. And Laconia was still hosting every day all of last week.
We were like, I guess we're going to train in the parking lot. And then
that's really your best bet.
But we went into our gym, and it was just like, look, you guys have to understand, it's not going to mimic exactly what turf is like, but the ball is going to roll away from you a lot faster than you think.
Fast, yeah.
And more for us, we did not see turf at all this year, which is rare.
Yep.
Over the course of the season, we're going to see it at least once.
Same.
And for whatever you guys, on occasion, you might get it.
Yeah,
but
every now and again,
right. every once in a while.
But for us, it's not where we could depend on it at least once a year. Just didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's the difference between Trinity and Laconia coming out of division.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little more difficult. And we went to you guys this year instead of you coming to us. So next year,
Right.
you get at least one turf game.
Yeah,
you know?
we'll get a turf game. Yeah. We almost had to go to turf for that quarterfinal matchup because our field got
it was brutal.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
In the Derryfield game, we played in the pouring rain, and it was ugly, just ugly.
I just don't get why. Like, I understand why they want to do it because you're on that strict time crunch.
Right.
When we played at Conant the next day, that was the nicest fall playoff game I've ever had.
Right.
I mean, every playoff game I've ever had, not that it's a lot in the 8 years that I've been coaching, it's raining, it's gray, it's cold, it's pouring. Like, it's just always how it is. And when we went down to Conant, it was just a little bit windy, but it was beautiful. It was 60,
Beautiful.
65.
They have got the perfect, almost, it might be actually too warm today to play for a final game. It's warm.
Yeah.
And it's going to impact play today to a degree simply because these guys have been training in really cold
cooler weather,
temperatures. And now all of a sudden we're going to go 100 miles an hour at the hottest time of the day.
Yep.
And if it's 70 degrees
outside, let alone you got to add a little bit to the turf too because it's going to be warmer.
Some guys are going
to see you'll see some cramping and
Yep.
some snipes from the bleachers. You'll see a kid come up lame a little bit here and there just based on the fact that it is warmer.
Right.
And on turf it's a little bit warmer than your normal temperature. You'll feel it when you walk. You feel it when you walk off our turf. that it's significantly warmer when you're down there.
Right.
So it should, I would assume, it's probably similar.
It's going to be toasty today.
So good thing we're all wearing
Cool.
shorts. Well,
Woohoo.
except for you.
Yeah, I missed the shorts memo today, but it's all right.
It's okay.
It's fine. We're behind a desk for a reason. We really have to show waist up, right?
Yeah, true.
One of these days I'm going to show up in PJs. PJ bottoms, I should say.
I don't know what to do
Please
with
don't.
my hands.
Please don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Let's keep coming out.
Well, I guess that'll do it for our show.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
We got to plug Elite Sports Academy again,
Yeah.
just based on the fact that it's a little quiet now, but this is an incredible venue.
Yeah, no, we appreciate them and allowing us to take over a corner of their facility. And apparently, or according to them, normally there'll be a bunch of softball and baseball players behind us, hitting off the tee, things like that. But because of the beautiful weather, they all went outside.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it stays like this for another 2 or 3 weeks, I've already had guys asking what we're going to start doing when we work. I mean,
you're like, all right.
I'm like, I would love to do it right now, but you'd have to do it by yourself. I'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it's 70 degrees in November, you got to take full advantage of it
yeah.
outside. And,
Get out while you can.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, this is a beautiful facility, absolutely, but nothing beats outdoor reps.
It's nice.
For sure. Well, that's going to do it. We're going to just end it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, whether watching live or on demand. For Coach Foley and Coach Kernan, my name is Devin Poslusny, and we'll see you all next week when we talk football and prepare you all for the off season, which or let me phrase that, in between season, because there's no off season.
There is no off season.
But
Absolutely not.
I'm going to leave you with my pathetic throw of a paper. This is what I've been doing for the last 45 minutes.
It took you 45 minutes.
No,
to
I
do
did
that.
it like 2 minutes ago, but whatever. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Devin. That's Dan. That's Mike. See you all next week. Oh, man, that was horrible.
Go trade safe.